Hi, today is my 24th birthday. For 12 or more of those years, I have been consuming YouTube and its creators. Really, I probably have spent more than a year in total playtime listening, watching, and interacting with YouTube content. I mean, I've been on the platform since 2006 in many different iterations under such names as Fox Cannon, My Rules, My World 29, which I believe when I had that account, it was at like 25,000 subs, but it's really old. No, not 25,000. I think it was like about 2,000. Yeah, because it was like what 2007, 8. No, 2009. I used to make Halo machinimas. Some of them I can recover. One of them was really popular for a long time. It was a Dane Cook Halo 3 machinima that I made when I was in like what 6th, 7th grade. But I haven't been able to make content lately because I currently work 2 jobs. So I live in Adobe Premiere. It's been a little hard, not creatively, but I've been just busy. Also, most of my creative effort outside of this has been making a documentary, a docufiction, which will be revealed in time. What it is. I believe I've talked on the channel briefly about what that is, but most of it I can't really get into. But for now, for today, this is more of a candid video, as you can tell. In stunning 4K cinematic. I don't know if I'm gonna make it look cinematic. I already got like naturalistic lighting. I got that Rembrandt lighting going on. It's not supposed to be creepy, but it kind of looks creepy. I don't know. But for today, I'm just going to briefly and candidly talk about my favorite creators on the website, people that have influenced me, and the such. And I won't do them really in any particular order, except for the last one, which is like my all-time favorite, which none of you will know, because he has less subscribers than me. But this is just more of an intimate thing, something easy for me to make in the meantime. But I will announce that I do have more videos on the way. I'll be making like a smaller video essay by the end of the month. And then during November, I'll try and get out something. That's going to be most of the time when a lot of the documentary post-production and some other things are happening with that. So I'm going to be busy. But December, I will be bringing back Flashcember. It was supposed to be an annual thing, but that is probably the most fun I've ever had making videos. So I would love to be able to bring that back. I have so many ideas left over from the first time and the second time I was supposed to do it, but I'm going to try and make it annual, regardless if I, make content that much. I'm going to try and make more content, but it's not really a big priority to me. And as I go down this list of YouTubers, you will probably understand why. Most of these people didn't really make it big, and I kind of have more respect for them because they are luminaries in their niche genre in a way, to me at least. So I'm not going to go in any particular order, but the last one I'll save. So for the first one, which kind of goes against what I just said a few moments ago. James Rolfe, and I don't mean angry video game nerd, I mean James Rolfe, the person, just in terms of all the content he's created. I'm more of a fan of his film stuff than I am angry video game nerd. I love Monster Madness so much. I love when he talks about films, because he's not necessarily pretentious. I'm very pretentious about film, but James just like knows what he's talking about. He doesn't need to flaunt like analytical knowledge on things. He just knows things. He loves monster movies. He knows horror movies. He knows movies. He's like that. Like just he geeks out about stuff because he loves it. He doesn't try and overanalyze it or overthink it, and that's something I kind of envy. Just his pure, unadulterated knowledge on film is so. It just warrants so much respect for me. I do love Angry Video Game Nerd, and I do love Board James as like his creative effort. I love it a lot. Like whoever says that they don't like Angry Video Game Nerd is just a fucking negative Nancy. That's the worst way I can put that. But, yeah, but James Rolfe commands a lot of respect on YouTube just for what he's done for the platform, for online video in general. His legacy is cemented, and he still continues to just make amazing content and grow and be better than before. Not only production, but in the way he does things, like Cinemassacre Rental. That's an amazing series with really good people. Like some of the hypotheticals, like who is Frankenstein's brain? What does he have in him? And other things. Just all these fun little videos that he does. It's just, the man is a content-making machine, and he's really unprecedented. There's never going to be somebody like James Rolfe again on the platform, honestly. Now we're going to get into the really, really obscure stuff. And I need to talk about OddityArchive. Now, if there's somebody on the platform that still makes videos in the same way that they used to be made about a decade ago, it's OddityArchive. He certainly he doesn't care about upping his production value. The charm of OddityArchive is that it looks like that. It looks like a local broadcast TV thing with him reviewing old tech. Not reviewing, but going over the history of old tech, obscure things, oddities, as you will, as the name implies. But there's such a unique air and charm about it that really, for a long, long time, I mean, I've been watching him for just over 5-6 years, and all of his old stuff. He just makes really impeccable content on such little, and he only has 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. I believe he had a channel before and a website, and I don't know if he was partnered with Channel Awesome. I don't remember. I don't think he was. He has a very devout fan base that I'm kind of envious of. And his content, he just makes it regardless of the fact that he's getting views or not. And he makes really, really... There's channels that make very similar content to him. Like, I forget, Technology Connections, I don't remember their name. Very similar, higher budget, but OddityArchive just takes it because of the charm of it all. And a lot of people aren't going to like that. They want higher production value. They want 4K like this. Not the reason I'm using 4K is for, to get views, but it's just the camera that I have. But honestly, just doing videos in 4:3 aspect ratio, or just the low production editing value and the way he does things is just... I admire him for keeping going with that. Now I'm going to be talking about somebody who doesn't exist anymore. And when I mean that, I mean, like, you can't see any of his videos anymore, as far as I know. And if there's anybody in the comments that would know how to retrieve this old content, or the person themselves is watching somehow, contact me, because I would really like to know or interview you or be able to make a video on you, because you were certainly not necessarily a first of your kind, but one of the best at that time. And this is before commentary channels were how they are today. I wish we can go back to this, because it wasn't overly analytical. It wasn't clickbaity. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. There's an audience, but commentary back then was very simple. It was about rants. It was about talking over things in the community in a very, I guess, innocuous way. There wasn't a lot of, agenda or subtext to why some of these videos today are being made. And the person I'm talking about is Tnpan. If anyone knows if that person exists anymore on a different name, please tell me. But he used to do rants and commentaries about everything. Video games, people. But the way he talked and presented himself, he was very intelligent, and he wasn't necessarily angry all the time. He made rants, but he wasn't, like, extremely exaggerated about it. And he had, at the time, good enough production value, but he just made very interesting dialogue, I guess. He was able to talk about things in interesting ways. And commentary back then, it hasn't aged well, really. Some channels you go back and you're like, well, of course, you're not going to watch it. Like, the problem with commentary is that everything's super dated in, like, the next year. A lot of it's just, like, for the now. I don't really agree with that philosophy. It makes you money, but Tnpan was an example of how to do commentary right back then, about a decade ago, or less than a decade ago. He no longer exists. I don't know why. He maybe got a copyright strike, or just his channel got shut down for violating terms of service, for whatever reason. I know he used to open up with Real Big Fish, Beer, the song Beer by Real Big Fish. And I had an interaction with him very early on Skype. I had one of those dumb spammer things where like you click a button and it starts sending like dashes, slashes, and everything very fast. I was like, I'm gonna screw with this guy, and I sent it, and he called me, and I was like, uh-oh, he's gonna like chew me out. But he's like, dude, what is this? How did you do this? I'm like, it's like this little thing, and I believe I sent it to him, but we had a laugh. We like talked for a little bit, and I said like, I really like your content. You're really cool. Keep going. And from there, I just had like a small interaction with him very occasionally until he just kind of poof. I believe I still have him on my old Skype account. Obviously, he's probably not going to log back in, but I'm interested to see if he exists somewhere else on the internet, or what happened to him, or what he does now. If you're out there, Tnpan, contact me, or if he's under a different name, somebody let me know. So this one is under 5K subs. His name is DisregardingHenry, and he used to make, the last time I checked, he just did this long video cast that nobody watched. He used to make film videos, like obscure film videos. He did a series called Cult Sandwich that I really liked, that exposed me to so much art house films and cult movies. He also had a series about art house films. But he used to recommend and review films, and he's on the same level as James Rolfe in terms of film knowledge, but he's a little bit more nerdier, and he talks about a lot of the differences between mainstream Hollywood and art house and contemporary indie film. And he really got me into a lot of films, especially Buffalo 66 by Vincent Gallo, and a bunch of like obscure Japanese and Korean films as well. There's a lot of great content on his channel, and it's well made, but unfortunately, I think due to circumstances, he did not catch on. He's relatively obscure, so please go look up DisregardingHenry. He is one of the few film YouTubers that kind of knows what he's talking about too. And there's very, very few people, especially the bigger ones, that even know what they're talking about. And I stand by that sentiment. Another one, not my favorite, but just to shout him out, Film Histories is also really good. It's no bullshit, no filtered history on film. Like, there's nothing about, like, contemporary film and trying to compare and contrast and use over-exaggerated writing to tell a story. No, it's literally about the history of film presented in a nice, digestible format. And I hope that catches on, because that's relatively well made. But I have a feeling that it's going to be hard for that person to be able to do that. And DisregardingHenry, unfortunately, I think he just stopped making content because it stops being rewarding when you're not getting anything. And, that kind of comes from the territory with him talking about art house films, talking about unmade masterpieces, where he went into long series, and I'm surprised. I think his most popular content was the unmade masterpieces series. He talked about a lot of unmade films such as A Topiary or The Tourist and Johnny Rocket, the David Lynch film that never got made. That's a very interesting series, and he presents it in such a great way that I think no one else could. So go look up his series, Unmade Masterpieces. Go look up Cold Sandwich. Go look at, I think it's called Art House Fever. He will expose you to a lot of great underground films, but he's also just extremely knowledgeable on the subject as well, and genuinely one of the best film YouTubers. Unfortunately, not very well known, but some gems are better left undug, I suppose. So here's another one that became popular late into its life. And he's always had a following, or they have always had a following as well. but I really like StopSkeletonsFromFighting or Derek Alexander and Grace because it is a gaming channel. He put a lot of emphasis on making positive gaming content rather than negative. And back then, when he was really starting with Happy Video Game Nerd, that was not the norm. Ranting about video games was what was popular, what was giving traffic to these content creators. You see Irate Gamer, Angry Video Game Nerd, of course, that was the progenitor of all of it. But he always stayed in the lane of being positive most of the time. He did some series about things that were bad. But his content is unorthodox on the platform for gaming. A lot of his content now relies on contemporary ways of making content, but not necessarily so. Still, just with what he focuses on. And unfortunately, it's sad because he put out a video, I think yesterday or the day before, about his YouTube, Derek and Grace's problems with trying to live off of making YouTube videos, and they talked about their multi-channel network and how they left it, and then all of a sudden the algorithm didn't recognize them, so they unfortunately couldn't make as much money, and they would only make a huge amount of money for a while, and then they would have to try and survive for a big part of the year, which is kind of a theme with a lot of these channels, except for James Rolfe. It's about struggling to make it, and really, like, if you're passionate about it and you want to do it, like, yeah, put all your coins in. Derek and Grace certainly are still putting in as much effort as they can. And I hope that things do work out for them. And I think they will, because Derek has adapted over the years. Honestly, I'm not too worried. I think they're going to get their due. Derek and Grace are really hardworking. They make great content. It is for a specific audience. It's not a broad range of audience, but I think they have it in them. Derek and Grace, and especially Derek over the years, has adapted on the platforms that he's worked on. So, but I also don't blame him if he wants to, go off and do something else and kind of leave YouTube for a while or indefinitely or whatever he wants to do, because it's hard. I had expectations coming into YouTube that I was going to be this big thing and I was going to be a big name. And not to discredit my successes thus far, I've certainly had quite a few, especially even outside of YouTube, because of YouTube. The fact that I've been able to get really good jobs and work is because of my YouTube work. And I'm really grateful that this platform was that stepping stone. And after a while, that was my goal, especially like later 2017. I was like, I'm going to make content because it's going to get me work. Because YouTube doesn't really have a good exit plan. It really doesn't. That kind of going back to Tnpan and commentary channels, like, unless you're a great editor or writer, a lot of these commentary channels don't have a good exit plan. I'm sure I'm probably going to be wrong about that, and a lot of these people are going to make big names out of themselves in some ways, or be able to find work in some ways, but as of right now, and I have nephews I have a nephew who really wants to be an influencer or a content creator, and I have to press him to tell him, like, it's not a good exit plan. Like, you're young, so you're not going to figure that out, but, like, making YouTube content is not a end-all be-all, and it shouldn't be. It should be a stepping stone for your passion, for what you want to do elsewhere in life. And how to really gain skills on your own and discipline yourself. So, while Derek and Grace have had success on the platform, I really don't blame them if they stop, It really comes down to also just their personalities. Like, Derek is just such a great on-camera personality. Grace is also pretty good on camera, and they're just genuinely great people, I think. I have never had one-to-one interactions with them, so it's more of a parasocial thing. That's kind of a lot of what I'm going to get into next with my favorite YouTuber. It's really easy to detect that they are great people and they love what they're doing, and it's not just there's nothing behind the scenes necessarily that indicates that they are only doing this for profit. And you know what? A lot of people now on YouTube do it for it, and that's fine. People got to make money. And some people definitely know how to twist the algorithm and know how to be successful. In fact, I'll just a little bit, some of my job is working on YouTube and making people successful. So I'm no stranger to the behind the scenes with YouTube as well. So I definitely understand. Now this is the big one that might turn this video way longer than it needs to be. Especially because this person has had like a profound impact on me in a way, and I know that if they do see this, they're going to be kind of uncomfortable maybe, because they've expressed that they don't really have admiration for like people who do love YouTubers in a way. I might be misconstruing some of his attitude, and I'm sorry. Correct me, because I know you've commented on one of my videos a long time ago. I know you know who I am, somewhat, or remember me, or will remember me if you do see this. TolstoyKafkaEvsky. He has less than 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, but he has always been my favorite because of how candid, how, I guess, unhinged he's been, and how much of his personal life and his personality really sink into his content. He's literally doing what I'm doing right now, is just talking in front of a camera. Mine's going to be edited, but his is not really edited at all. There's cuts and stuff between it, and sometimes he throws in skits, especially in his old videos. But it's raw. It's real. He's had such an interesting evolution from when he started to now. And he's taken a long breaks in between. But he started out making action figure reviews and talking about books, comics, and film and everything, just media in general. And now he normally does like reviews of hiking trails and national parks and backpacks and notebooks. But I still watch him because of how he presents that content. His personality is a force that just is pervasive, and he is kind of known for like some images on the internet for being like the cringe lord with the trilby hat and the samurai sword, like the what we would call incels now or whatever. But like back then, TolstoyKafkaEvsky really is to me what a content creator should be open, should be raw, but should present themselves in an entertaining, informative, and personal way to connect with an audience. It's really hard to pin down why I like him so much. Maybe it's because I've been watching him for so many years, but it's just his raw personality and the way he presents things. It's so charming. They're not well-made videos at all. It doesn't matter because the focal point is Tolstoy and his personality. Yeah, he has a really pretentious name, looking back now, and for a long time he made some very choice content, not content, but he had a very, let's say, interesting attitude, potentially misogynistic for a while. Certainly very contrarian, but I still watched him because it was just like, it was hard not to watch. He kind of, you could see his life change and evolve for about more than a decade on the platform, and it's like watching someone. It's like Boyhood, weirdly enough. It's not, because he didn't start out as a... It's a dumb analogy. Just forget it. It was watching someone's life unfold in front of you on YouTube. And that was my first exposure to that, really. And you don't see that. A lot of people put on a front. They put on an act. I certainly do. This is probably the most raw I've ever been on camera. But watching his life unfold in front of me taught me a lot in my adolescence, because I watched him when I was like 11 or 12 up until now, and parts of his personality kind of fused into mine, and I kind of learned a lot from him, just hearing him talk and exposing me to a lot of media. I think he's the reason I also played Metal Gear Solid and became obsessed with Silent Hill. Just being able to share your thoughts in a raw way now without it being scripted or having to think about it is kind of a novelty. there are people like streamers who do, but like a lot of things are meticulous now, and we can't go back. We unfortunately can't go back to a time where that was the default, where it was just this charm of people sharing themselves on camera. It's more than that now. It's about presentation. And that's coming from me, you know, somebody who makes video essays. It's all about presentation. But for him, it's the charm of just being able to sit in front of a camera and let your life unfold. And maybe he doesn't even realize that, like, for thousands of people, he's let himself, like, his history and his life unfold, and he's probably impacted so many people. I know he's impacted me. And letting him be forgot for his legacy on the platform, because at one point when YouTube was in its infancy, he was relatively popular. He was well known, but, you know, unfortunately, not even unfortunately, I can't even say that, he should be left obscure because of who he is and how he is. And I'm sorry if that offends you if you do see this, but genuinely, you are too good for YouTube. You are too good to not let the new YouTube and how content has changed on the platform allow you to be popular. And I'm unfortunately being a hypocrite when I am talking about you and exposing you to a somewhat larger audience. There's going to be a lot of people who have their TolstoyKafkaEvskys, people who are obscure or not obscure, whose life unfolded on camera for thousands of people, but it's never ever going to be as raw and unfiltered and as, I guess, clean and interesting as Tolstoy's. We have people who have been on the platform like Philip DeFranco for literally the entire time, who's been popular, but we're never going to really be able to see everything unfold in a clean, raw way like Tolstoy, because Tolstoy is just who he is. Tolstoy, the only way I can describe Tolstoy and his journey is that it is a long-form timeline on social media, but told in a raw, unfiltered way. And there's nothing else on YouTube like it. He's pervasive, informative, interesting, and funny, and he's influenced me greatly, just on being a person, not really a content creator. I have so many other influencers that are not on this list that have influenced me more. But Tolstoy's content has affected me as a person more than anything. And I sincerely thank him for making content and putting himself on the internet the way that he did, so personally, and just letting his emotions and everything. It taught me a lot about life in the most unconventional way ever. So thank you, TolstoyKafkaEvsky, or whatever your real name is. I hope you do see this video, because I genuinely will make a video on you one day. It's not going to get any views. Nobody's going to give a shit, but it's going to be a full tribute and a more thought out, methodical video about you, and necessarily your legacy, I suppose. To me, at least. And, you know, a few thousand people, a lot of people who do follow you. So that was my favorite list of YouTubers and content creators. A lot of those people you're not going to know, but, you know, it's good to expose them and kind of get a feel for what I think and who I favor on the platform necessarily. I still watch a lot of contemporary YouTubers, obviously, and content creators. The running theme of my list is passion, and coming from a place of struggle and finding your way and growing a community all your own. Not trying to be like another community or another person, but just being a force all your own, in a way. That's the weirdest way of putting it, but... And maybe the other theme of the list is just not making it as well. And, you know, sometimes... And some people on this list don't care about being big. And that's the biggest problem on YouTube, is that now it's an investment. Now when people make content, it is about making that audience. It isn't making it for you. And now that I realize it's better to make content for you than other people. Of course, I love seeing views grow and being able to have a smash hit video like my Scoob and Shag video, where I practically gave the creator of that so much more traffic, thank God. And if I go through the comments, a lot of people pledged to Patreon on him, and I'm so glad, because that comic is amazing, and it's about the passion of making that video, about talking about that topic. And maybe this is a letter to younger people to not, settle down with your dreams, but be logical about them. Again, I'm 24 now, and years ago I told myself by 24, 25 I was going to have more than 100,000 subs. I was going to be making all this money, and life isn't all that it's chalked up to be. The past year I've had a lot of hardships. Just the latter half of this year has gotten way better for me. I've lost a lot of weight, getting fit again. But I went through a lot of struggle in the past year, and especially in 2018. And some of you will know what I'm talking about through social media. I lost my Twitter, so a lot of that stuff is lost. I have a new Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter at BlueShadesVivo. Like I said before, YouTube doesn't have an exit plan. It's not necessarily the best idea. But if you want to expose yourself in such a unique format through video, YouTube is the best way. But if you have expectations of making it big, more power to you, but you got to put in the work, and you got to put up with the struggle of it. I think I will eventually, to some degree, make it to 100,000 subscribers, because that is a goal. That's something I do want, regardless of the fact if it takes forever. I think it's important enough to me to be able to do that. And, it's just a number. I mean, I've had way, way better achievements in my life thus far at 24 than that would be. And again, it's easier to get to 100,000 now than it was when I started. And I thought it was just easier for other people, and how we understand the algorithm in YouTube, I suppose. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to do, and hopefully I make it there. And I will eventually. I think I will. But I just want this video to be something to look back on and remember my roots on the platform for the 11, 12 years, 13 years that I've been watching YouTube. And I hope that you guys share your favorite YouTubers in the comments and tell me your experiences. And that's if you watch the rest of this video. This is quite a long video. I'm going to have to cut this considerably. But I'm Blue Shades. Again, I'm going to have videos out in the last half of this year, or the last quarter, I guess. November and December, I'm going to have videos. October, I'll try and have a video, but stay tuned. I'll have stuff. I don't know how to end videos, so I'm just going to walk off camera while I'm talking. Yep. Yeah, that's it.